It was a quiet evening in Houston, Texas, and the streets were filled with the usual hustle of city life. Cars honked, people walked quickly along the sidewalks, and the glow of streetlights cast a warm yellow hue over the city. But one particular spot in the city held an unexpected encounter that no one could have anticipated. Travis Scott, the world-famous rapper and entrepreneur, had just wrapped up a long day of meetings. As always, he was surrounded by a cloud of paparazzi, fans, and the constant buzz that followed him wherever he went. But tonight he decided to take a break from his usual routine. He had heard about a local park not too far from downtown that was known for its serene atmosphere and had always wanted to visit. As he walked down the street toward the park, his mind wandered, thinking about his upcoming projects and the responsibilities that came with fame. But as he reached the corner of the park, he noticed a woman sitting on the curb. She was dressed in worn-out clothes, and next to her, a small child clung to her side, looking up at the towering figure of Travis with wide eyes. Travis stopped for a moment, his eyes softening as he took in the scene. The woman's face was tired, and her eyes showed signs of hardship, but there was something about her that struck him deeply. He had seen hardship in his life, but seeing it in front of him in such a personal way made him pause. The child, no older than 5, looked up at him with an innocent gaze, his small hand clutching his mother's. "Are you okay?" Travis asked, his voice gentle, taking a step closer. The woman looked up, startled at first. She hadn't expected anyone, let alone a celebrity, to speak to her. She forced a small smile, though it was clear that things were far from easy for her. "I'm fine," she said softly. "Just trying to get by." Travis sat down next to her, the sounds of the city fading into the background. He could tell she was trying to hold it together, but the weariness in her eyes told another story. She looked like she had been through a lot. "What's your name?" Travis asked. "Sarah," she replied quietly. "Sarah Turner. This is my son, James." Travis looked over at the little boy who was now holding onto his mother's arm tightly. The boy had a hesitant smile, his small teeth showing, but there was something in his eyes, a look of uncertainty and sadness that no child should have to bear. Travis's mind began to race. He knew he had the means to help, but what could he do to make a real difference? "How long have you been here?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. "It's been tough," Sarah said, her voice cracking slightly. "We've been living out here for almost 2 months. I lost my job. Rent got behind. It's just been one thing after another." Travis looked at her with empathy. He knew the struggle. Growing up in Houston, he'd seen poverty, pain, and the kind of hardship that people often couldn't escape from. But what he saw in Sarah's eyes was something different, despair mixed with hope. She wasn't giving up. She just didn't know where to turn next. "You don't deserve this," Travis said, his voice firm. "And neither does James." Sarah blinked, surprised at his words. She hadn't expected such compassion from someone she had never met. "I'm just trying to survive," she said softly, her hands shaking as she spoke. Travis didn't hesitate. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, dialing a number he knew by heart. As he spoke with his assistant, he kept his eyes on Sarah, trying to convey something, reassurance, hope, something that might help them both see the light at the end of this dark tunnel. Within moments, a black SUV pulled up in front of the park. Travis stood up, offering his hand to Sarah. "Come with me. We're going to get you and James somewhere safe." Sarah hesitated, not quite sure what to make of the situation. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, looking up at him in disbelief. "Because no one should have to live like this," Travis said, his voice sincere. "And you deserve better. You and your son deserve better." The SUV driver, a kind man named Carlos, stepped out and opened the door for Sarah and James. They both got inside, and Travis joined them in the back seat. As they drove to a nearby hotel, Sarah couldn't believe what was happening. This wasn't the life she had imagined, but she was grateful for the chance, however surreal it felt. When they arrived at the luxury hotel, Sarah was greeted like royalty. The staff had been prepped by Travis's team. They were given a private suite where Sarah could finally relax, take a warm shower, and start to rebuild her life. A doctor arrived shortly after to check on her health, providing her with a much-needed medical exam and prescriptions. Travis stayed with them the entire time, making sure everything was taken care of. As Sarah settled into the suite, her mind still in disbelief, she looked at Travis and finally found the words she had been searching for. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You don't need to," Travis replied with a kind smile. "You've already done the hard part. Now it's time for me to do mine." As Sarah and James began to settle into their new life, with food, shelter, and a fresh start, Travis knew that this was the kind of moment that mattered. He had changed their lives in an instant. But more importantly, he had given them hope. And that, in his mind, was priceless.